Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. A lot has happened this past weekend. We've got our continuing war between Israel and Iran kicking off, and U.S. involvement possibly coming up. Lots of protests and some violence involved with stuff along those lines. An assassination of two Democrats, with an attempted assassination of two additional Democrats. But that's not a right winger, no matter what people might try to make you believe. And then so much other stuff. But right now, I was reading some stories this morning to try and just catch up on news because I think that being educated on what's happening in the world is one of the most important things you can do as a human being, let alone as an American who actually our vote impacts the entire world. So here's where we are. We are looking at Iran today. We're looking at U.S. involvement. Trump has announced, or he hasn't announced, he's hinted at the idea of he's still trying to do negotiations, which is good. That is something I watched part of the Young Turks because I like to see what both sides are saying on a bunch of different topics. You may not think that. You may like to have people believe that I don't listen to both sides, but I do. I listen to some stuff from the Young Turks. I listen to some stuff from Tim Pool. I haven't really listened to anything from Crowder in ages. I listen to different topic or different areas. Joe Rogan, Asmongold, Tim Pool, the Young Turks. Occasionally I'll look at people that I don't watch commonly, like why can't I think of the name of the I can't even remember the name of it all of a sudden. It's just gone. But point is, I listen to, or I will not listen to, I will go hear what they're saying in some of the more fringe areas. I'll watch those Jubilee debates. I'll watch all that stuff because I think the most informed you can be is listening to all sides and hearing what everyone's view and focus and desires are. That's why in the previous videos I have said, like it's important to understand why people are doing things. You do not have to support what people do, but knowing why they do things is a huge part of diplomacy and understanding, because the human condition is one of a million different data points. And if you know that certain groups are driven by territory and respect more, you'll know that the thing you must do is respect those individuals that are leading that country in order to avoid war. Anyways, so we're going to go over a couple of things really quick involving Iran and Israel. Firstly, we can look at what's happening in the Israel and Iran conflict. And for the most part, it seems like Israel's strikes are all aimed at specific military targets. They're trying to strike missile launching. They're trying to strike leaders in Iran's leadership chain and hierarchy. They're trying to strike key points and people. Meanwhile, Iran is just bombing everything that is labeled as Israeli. A bunch of private citizen domiciles, not domains, but a lot of domiciles are being struck with missiles. They're not targeting any sort of military installations. And with that, it very, very, very clearly and very, very, very quickly is shown that one side is trying not to hurt innocent people while the other side is just terrorists that own a country. And a lot of people don't understand that in Iran there was a rebellion or an uprising or a coup. I can't remember exactly what it's labeled as. But this uprising took over Iran back in, I think it was the late 80s. I cannot remember the exact year because my brain is losing years right now. But I believe in the late 80s there was an uprising. Iran got taken over and it got turned into a theocratic government. Whenever that happened, I guess a bunch of Iranian folks, like Iran and Israel used to be friends. Iran was one of the first countries that recognized Israel. That was whenever the citizens were voting for their elections. That's when citizens were. Iran used to be one of the most progressive Muslim countries in the Middle East, and it was probably going to become very much like a United Arab Emirates type of path if it had been allowed to continue to develop, flourish, and evolve in a natural way. Because the people there were not war-torn, they weren't backwards in the idea that they would shirk things that could make their lives better just because. The theocratic government is a horrible thing for them. I don't think a theocratic government should exist anywhere. I think you should have values from your religious beliefs going into your government representatives, but the government itself should never be driven by a religion. So, with that, really quickly, before we start looking at the articles that I've got pulled up, I'm small. I do this as a part-time thing between all my different jobs that I'm doing. I would appreciate if you would just give it a like, a share, a comment, and share it along with your friends. So, with that, we're going to start hitting, now that we're into these parts and I've kind of done a recap, we're going to go into all the key points right now that's I think the whole world should be against Iran. I think it would be great if the whole world kind of came together and sent some troops. Some, not being a lot, but some, just to remove Iran completely. I don't know exactly what some of the other countries are. Like, if we sent troops, Great Britain, France, America, if everyone sent troops, just a small amount, to just basically remove Iran's leadership and let the people have an election again without triggering Russia and all these other things, that would probably, like, this is a dangerous country. I'll get to why here in a minute. But, I mean, I don't want war that's drawn out. I want a very fast, if we could do a very fast point where a bunch of countries all go in, remove their leadership, let the people be free again, give them their elections that they used to have, and step out, just bing, bang, boom, that would be okay, and I'll justify why in a minute. I do not like war. I am upset that Trump's doing indications that we could get involved, but it's some information I saw this morning that really makes me go, you know what, this is kind of worth the short engagement, if we could have a short engagement. I'm not holding my breath about Europeans helping us at all, but here we go. So Trump's still at the negotiating table, which is good, but he has signaled possible U.S. involvement. From what I have seen, I haven't seen anything past this, but everything I have seen is indicating that U.S. involvement is going to be providing additional security features to Israel so that their Iron Dome, which was very much being overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of ballistic missiles that are being launched by Iran, can better protect themselves. That's what I'm seeing any time that I am seeing that Trump is having an involvement discussion, which I think that providing defensive things to people is fine. That's my opinion on that. But the reason that I want to give this to everyone is this one first. So Iran is not... so we have the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, not association. They are tasked with going in and analyzing different countries' nuclear enrichment and things like that to ensure that people aren't doing military-grade uranium, we're not getting more nukes, that stuff is safe in terms of nuclear facilities across the board. So That is their whole job. They are an impartial international agency that is purely meant for that purpose. So, issue is, the agency has been trying to get to different sites and view different things in Iran for years. And Iran is always blocking them, not allowing them, and doing different things like that. That is something that was always a requirement, was that Iran was supposed to... A part of Obama's old enrichment deal was that the IAEA was supposed to be able to go in and access any of their sites at any time, I believe without heads up, like, hey, we're going to be out there on this date, for obvious reasons. You don't want someone to be able to hide the material that they don't want you to see. So they've been rejecting and refusing that since Obama. Like, they basically immediately rejected inspectors coming in to actually look at things. They signed the paper, but then they just kept using their centrifuges to enrich without letting any of that oversight happen. And so Iran's upset. They're saying it was politically motivated, and all that. But then we look at this one. Back in 2023, same thing was happening. The UN nuclear agency slams Iran for barring several inspectors from monitoring its program. Basically, inspectors would show up. Iran would go, no, you can't come in. And they would block them from entering. That is what was happening. And it immediately removes this whole thing of them saying it's politically motivated as the region gears up for potential Israeli strikes. Completely fabricated, because they were blocking them for years before this. And the IAEA never actually, came down on them before. This one is all the way back in 2017. I think I got this slightly out of order. I think this is the 2018. Again, they're rejecting military site inspections for nuclear materials. 2017, again, rejects it for them to come and see more of their sites for inspections. They've been doing this for almost 10 years, where they're just rejecting all inspections and all everything. And this is a very interesting part. Note the date on this. June 12th, 2025, Iran is saying that it is purely political motivation to come down on them for not allowing inspections. But then you come over here, and what happens? Iran announces a new nuclear enrichment site after the UN watchdog has officially voted to censure them. What's the date on this? June 12th, just the same exact day. Not that one, that one. That one doesn't have a timestamp, so I can't see which one was actually posted first in the day. But the point is, these were both posted the exact same day. And it says, Iran said it has built and will activate a third nuclear enrichment facility, ratcheting up tensions with the UN on Thursday, immediately after its atomic agency, a watchdog agency, censured Iran for failing to comply with non-proliferation obligations. This is a part of international negotiations that say if you want to enrich uranium for energy purposes, then you must allow us to inspect you. And they've been rejecting the inspections for a decade. Hours later, Israel then attacked the nuclear targets, because it wasn't something that just popped up out of the blue that Iran was being bad with their nuclear energy. Air quotes on energy, sorry, you can't see me. Nuclear energy pieces. It has been going on for years and years and years and years and years. And Iran has just never received any backlash. They've never received any punishment. And that's the key of that. But Millennial, maybe they have nothing to hide, and they're just trying to do their enrichment, and that's that. Wrong. I'm going to show you why. This is another thing that was released by BBC 2 days ago. So on the 14th, this was released. And the same group last week, the IAEA, said in its latest quarterly report that Iran had amassed enough uranium enriched up to 60% purity, a short technical step away from weapons grade, or 90%, to potentially make 9 nuclear bombs. That was a matter of serious concern. I know what you guys are thinking, those of you who are not educated in this. 60%, well, energy could be, what, like 50%? Maybe it's just a little bit above energy level. Wrong. Energy, according to the World Nuclear Association, the people who know about nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, most reactors are light water reactors and require uranium to be enriched from 0.7% to 3 to 5%. That's their fuel, 3 to 5%. This is a normal low enriched uranium. There is some interest in taking enrichment levels to about 7% and even close to 20% for certain special power reactor fuels. So basically, the high assay LEU reactor core materials, it's still 3 times the enrichment level of the highest grade, highest enrichment fuel source fuels that you could have. It is closer to military grade, your weapons grade uranium than to energy grade at the highest level. You cannot, if you say anything other than, yeah, it looks pretty clear that they're going for weapons grade. If you say anything other than that, you need to firmly grab yourself by the neck and pull your head out of your ass, because this is condemning. They've been blocking inspections for a decade. Their uranium that has been inspected has shown that it is closer to weapons grade than to energy grade. And they've been funding terrorism against Israel and saying that they want a nuclear weapon so that they can destroy Israel for ages. The whole world needs to start, the entire West community needs to start actually saying, hey, whenever these types of unacceptable governments or groups of entities come to power, we need to squash it, because this makes the entire world more dangerous. There's intelligence that says that these people, whenever they got these nuclear bombs, these detonatable devices, what they want to do is give some of them just to terrorist organizations like the Houthis. I'm sorry, but that makes everyone substantially more unsafe. Because, oh, you're a nice French couple living in Paris. Oh, all of a sudden a terrorist with a dirty bomb showed up in Paris and you and your family are now dead. Why? Because the European governments, the American governments, no one ever stepped in and said, this has gone on far too long, Iran. We're shutting down all of your enrichment centers, and you have to buy any nuclear material you need for your reactors, you have to buy from us. Because we know that we're only going to enrich it to 5%. You don't get that. So with that, I mean, I think that if we could do a fast engagement, okay, a coalition of countries all strike Iran, remove and punish their government individuals in government, and then let the people have their election and get back, because it was a military uprising. Well, it was a militaristic overthrow of the previous Iranian government. But with that, the people of Iran should get a chance to vote again. Because currently they're basically being held hostage by their ayatollahs and everything. So with that, I think it would be great to give. It would be, if my mind is saying, if we give Iranians the ability to vote and they vote someone in that's level-headed again and they kind of return to normalcy as how they were. The only problem is now it's been 30 to 40 years since they had their freedoms, and that means a whole generation of younger people have never known those freedoms. They've never known the peace of the world whenever they were able to get along with Israel. They never knew these different things. But if we could remove their theocratic government and let people vote for who they want and then put it all back together and leave, I think we could have a much stronger Middle East, because of the fact that Iran funds a ton of terrorist organizations in the Middle East. If you give Iran back to the people and they stop giving money to terrorist organizations, you're going to see everywhere become more peaceful in the Middle East. I don't like the idea of troops on the ground in the Middle East because I'm afraid of it turning into a long drawn out battle or a long drawn out war. But if we can go in, literally arrest all the people that are in Iranian government as a part of this theocratic tyrannical group, and just reset the organization of their government to what the people want, that would be great. And I think it would bring a lot of peace to the world. It would bring the nuclear clock down a little bit. At that point, it's just Russia that we're worried about, and Russia isn't planning on giving nukes to random terrorist cells, so I'm not as worried about them. I think that if we saw nuclear weapons used by them, I think it's going to be low-yield nuclear artilleries, not ICBMs, not dirty bombs in the middle of civilian populations. Iran, I do not have that trust. I do not have that belief. I do not have anything about that. So, bad Trump for so quickly getting involved in this. I don't like the fact that he was lying to us people for a little bit after. So the strike happened. I do not like that we were lied to, saying we had no idea. I wish that as soon as it happened, the government had just announced, yeah, we knew it was potentially going to happen, but our whole goal was to try and get Iran to sign the deal before Israel said we're doing it. Because at that point, you know, it is what it is. But I mean, I like that we're still trying to do negotiations. I wish that Trump would not be deceptive to at least the American people. Although I guess Trump pretty quickly was pretty honest about having known about it. It was more that there were other government officials that were more blindsided by it. So that makes me wonder if Netanyahu just told Trump directly. And that's why, you know, Rubio had no idea that it was coming, or whatever the case is. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Share the video. It's a tough spot. I don't like war, and I don't want boots on the ground. But like I said, I think that if we could do it quickly as a coalition of countries, we could actually see a peace that we haven't seen in decades in the Middle East. If we combine that with something like an Abraham Accords revival, I think it would be phenomenal. So with that, thank you all. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a nice day, and I'll talk to you later.